it's me. It's another day, and I watched another movie, because that's kind of how this whole thing works. This movie was Queen of the Damned. And uh, now this is one I've watched before, so going into it, I knew exactly what to expect. I've seen this movie a bunch. And I actually was already a big fan of this movie. And now that I've watched it again, still a big fan of this movie. It's pretty damn great. Um, but before I get into why I like it, I just noticed something really interesting. Because I streamed this movie, and the streaming service I used has, it'll show like ratings for the movie on it. The critic ratings on this movie are abysmal. Like, I didn't realize, apparently people hate this movie. I don't know why. I think it's amazing. So I'll get into that. The first thing and the most important thing here is the soundtrack. This movie just has the greatest soundtrack ever. A lot of it is like just, industrial and heavy metal and new metal from like the early 2000s era. You get like Korn and Disturbed and Static X and just all that really good stuff that you want to hear. Or at least if you have good taste in music, you want to hear. But what's interesting is in the movie, there's also original songs that are in that style, but they're written specifically for this movie. And in the movie, the singing voice for all of them is Jonathan Davis, the lead singer of Korn. He sings all the songs in the movie, or at least the snippets of them that you hear. And yet, on the official soundtrack, if you get it, it's on a CD or whatever. I don't know if you kids these days remember what CDs are, but that's how us old folk used to listen to music after we advanced away from our cassette tapes and vinyl records. But on the soundtrack, each of the original songs for the movie was actually performed by one of the bands or one of the singers of the bands that contributed to the soundtrack. So, for example, one of the best songs, in my opinion, is Forsaken, and on the soundtrack, it's sung by David Draiman of Disturbed. But out there somewhere in the world, there are copies, there is a way to get all of the songs as sung by Jonathan Davis. So it's really weird. I'm sure there was some legal reason they had to switch it up and couldn't just let him do everything, but it's just interesting. But out of the movie itself, it's pretty good. The acting's not terrible. I don't know why people dislike it so much. It feels pretty well done. I thought all the actors did a great job. Aaliyah, part of it was she was a celebrity crush of mine when I was younger, but also, she's great in movies, so no issues there. The lead was absolutely great as Lestat. Way better than all the acting in that terrible Interview with a Vampire movie. All the set pieces looked great. The camera work was really good. The story, all the stories are adapted from the Anne Rice vampire books, so there's not much to tell about the story. It's what it's supposed to be, and it does a really good job. Yeah, I don't know. It's just such a great movie. I think it's really fun. It's a really good watch. I've seen it a bunch of times, and I always recommend that other people do so. If for nothing else, the scene on the beach with the, I don't know what to call them now. I think the word people would have used would be gypsies, but I think that's an offensive word now, and I don't want to offend groups of people. But the people that you would associate when you hear that word, not for any negative stereotypical reasons, just they appear like you would think they would, and they're just out there, they're playing music, they're having a great time. Lestat and one of the other vampires come along, and they see them, and he goes over and joins them. He picks up a violin, and he starts slowly learning to play along with their music. And it's a really cool scene visually. It's really awesome because that's when it kind of sinks in with him that, hey, I can't interact with humans and get to know them anymore because once they realize what I am, I have to kill them. It's a big pivotal moment in the movie. So aside from just visually and audio-wise being a really cool scene, it does really well in the story itself. It's kind of the turning point, and I absolutely love that scene. Every time it comes on, I'm really excited. I know it's good, and it still is when I watch it. It's just one of those goosebump kind of scenes in movies. So, yeah, I don't know. I think overall, it's a great movie. There's a lot of good scenes, a lot of good music, a lot of good acting. I think it's wonderful. Like I said, there are bad ratings online, but I honestly could not tell you why, because this movie's great. So, yeah, this is one of the few this year that if you're in the mood to watch something, it's not necessarily horror, really. It's more, I don't even know what to call it. Suspense, maybe? Kind of like an action drama that just has horror elements because it's about vampires and such. But if you just want a good watch or you just want to listen to something awesome, this is the movie. More importantly, the soundtrack is just, I can't recommend it enough. It's so good. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So I think this and Fear Farm are pretty much the only two really good ones so far, but who knows? Hopefully the trend will continue upward from here and things will get better. I'm certainly not counting on it, but hey, stranger things have happened. And that's all. So, see you tomorrow.